traditions, it seems to be that when, how do you get a new lineage or a new master has developed his lineage? It's kind of, they have to have something unique about them that sets them apart.
I remember quite distinctly my first meeting with Ajahn Brahm. I think it was 1993. At the time, staying at Vajrayarama, there was an elder German monk named Bodhinyana Vimala, who had been very dedicated to the austere ascetic life. I told Ajahn Brahm, you might want to speak to this German monk named Venerable Jnana Vimala. I'll arrange a meeting for you. And then Ajahn Brahm and the other monk went into the room, and I was sort of hanging back. Should I go in or should I stay back? And I thought, maybe let them speak alone with Venerable Jnana Vimala. And so I stayed back in my room, and I heard Venerable Jnana Vimala's sort of thundering voice. It was going on and on and on. And I was thinking, wow, I cheated myself out of listening to a wonderful discourse from Venerable Jnana Vimala. Okay, then at a certain point, then the door opened up and Ajahn Brahm and the other monk came out. And I looked at Ajahn Brahm and it looked like he had stars sparkling in his eyes. And I said, wow, that was one of the best discourses that I've ever heard.
In 1981, there was a group of West Australians from Perth, of all the places. I'd never been to Perth. They came to visit Wat Bapong and they went to visit Wat Nanachat. Their intention was to try and invite Western teachers or Western monks to go back to Australia, in particular to go to Perth to establish a forest monastery, which was a bit, kind of ambitious. Looking back at the condition of the Buddhist Society of Western Australia in those days, it was a very small group, but they were very, very dedicated. Ajahn Chah was not really keen on doing it at the beginning, primarily because most of us were still very young monks, and Perth was a long way away.
There were plenty of times, I think, when the monks probably went hungry on days. There was times I know when with Ajahn Jagaro and Ajahn Brahm, when he was here as the junior to Ajahn Jagaro, they knew that they had food in the fridge, but they couldn't take it because there'd been no lay people to turn up to offer it. So these sorts of things were no doubt very difficult for the monks, and probably why Venerable Peruso ended up heading back to Bangkok. And he was replaced by Ajahn Brahm. And what a monk, he turned out to be, really. When he came, he was skinny. He was, and I mean really quite, very, very thin. Ajahn Jagaro had told me, this man is a monk's monk.
We get up at 3 in the morning, and then we have a chanting or group meditation at 4 o'clock, which usually goes on till just before dawn. Just before dawn, we collectively tidy up the eating hall, And when it's tidied up, we go on our arms round for about an hour and a half.
There was some somewhat curious kind of conference in Japan of monastics from all over the world. And Ajahn Brahm was part of the Australian group. And he does this thing, he holds up a glass, like I don't have a glass, I just have this kind of thing. I'll never forget that. So he holds up this glass and asks me, Analayo, how to ensure that the water is completely still. And I started thinking, I have to relax the shoulders, hold it very softly. And then he just put the glass down with the thumb and let it go. And this has completely transformed my understanding and cultivation of concentration. Afterwards, sitting with it in practice and putting it into practice, I got a completely different understanding of what concentration, what samadhi, what samatha, tranquility, what they mean. And that it is much more about just letting go and letting the mind naturally rest in itself and collect itself. And this has been such an important help for me for my own practice and informs also the way I teach meditation.
That's you. I just said that's usually what's been in the past. But is that the limit of that?
I happened to pick up some CDs from various Western monks, and I had a bit of a prejudice to Western monks because I thought they don't really understand the depths of the Dhamma. The real teachings are in Asia, with these monks who've been ordained since they were 5, like my own teacher had. So I hadn't been that interested, but then I saw another CD with the name of someone who I didn't know, and it said Ajahn Brahm Vamso. And I thought, okay, I'll just, listen for a change, something in English, right? Because my teacher spoke only in Burmese. So I put this talk on, and after the first talk, I was blown away because I had never heard a talk on that particular subject with such clarity and context. By the second talk, my whole body was full of piti, and I just had this kind of heart opening where I felt I have to find this person, I have to find this teacher.
What he shows is his lifestyle and the way he behaves and the way he preaches the Dhamma. It's very, very important for us. And even when he talks about meditation, when he talks about samadhi in a different way, he doesn't call it real concentration. He calls it calming down and being at one pointed. I mean, it's a different way that he does it. So it's not the normal way. So that is very inspiring also for us, for the monk. I mean, to lay people, all his jokes are very helpful. But for a monk, I mean, it's, when we are monks, then it's his lifestyle that really helps us a lot. And we see that he's practicing what he is speaking. And that's inspiring for us. I think the Buddha was very flexible when he spoke. He spoke to people just on their normal life. He spoke to farmers. He spoke to many different people. And so you can't just take the canon and say, look here, that's the only way. The whole thing in it is try to inspire other people. And depending on the situation, if you speak, then that's useful. You speak to them depending on how it would fit into their environment. And I think Ajahn Brahm, he does that very well. I mean, it doesn't have to be straight out of the book, but it has to be in a way that people can understand it and people get inspired by it. And I think he's very successful.
Over the years, I've seen that he gives much more, let's say, accessible, popular talks on issues and problems related to people in lay life. And over the years, because of that, I mean, I know that he has helped to make the Dharma accessible and available and meaningful to lay people, speaking in ways that address, their actual very real, concrete problems of living a Buddhist life in the world. There was a Facebook fan page for Ajahn Brahm. Out of curiosity, this would have been years ago, I looked at the number of fans on that page, and of curiosity, I looked at the fan page for the Rolling Stones. At that time, Ajahn Brahm had more fans than the Rolling Stones.
He's written so many books, and Mindfulness, Bliss, and Beyond, for example, teaches people how to meditate and teaches people that meditation is not prayers, it's not contemplation. I think a lot of people think meditation is like you go there and you ask for things.
His emphasis on samatha vipassana being, it's not one or the other, and it's the tranquility and insight, which is actually very, very much what Ajahn Chah said and stressed. But often in many Buddhist circles, even today, I mean, there is this talking in a way that, again, sets up this, you either do one or the other. And if you do this one, you don't do that one. Yeah. So his emphasis, once again, on the need for deep concentration, his clear instructions on how to develop those states, I think have brought a lot of kind of reinvigoration in the practice of meditation within the Buddhist tradition.
When I visited Wat Bananacha in northeast Thailand, I happened to read Ajahn Brahm's meditation book, Mindfulness, Bliss, and Beyond. When I read this book, I screamed, Eureka! By reading the book, my unsolved puzzle of meditation was totally solved. I started meditation when I was a freshman in university, and I practiced very hard with my willpower. I met many teachers, read many books about meditation, but there's no teacher, there's no books teaching letting go, teaching abandoning of willpower. I was lucky to stay with him in Bodhinyana Monastery in Australia. I learned a lot from him by his teaching, behavior, by attitude.
My early recollections of Ajahn Brahm are pretty, consistent, that he always struck me as a very, one is a happy person, just a good-natured, happy person, very positive. Very rarely expressed any sense of negativity or any sense of being down. He just seemed to be one, is upbeat, good energy, friendly to everyone. I don't think there was anyone who didn't get along with Ajahn Brahm. There were other monks who didn't get along with each other. Everybody got along well with Ajahn, and he seemed to get along well with everybody.
ถ้าแค่เห็นก็เหมือนฝรั่งทั่วไปรูปร่างบุคลิกดีแต่ท่านก็น่ารักพูดตรงๆเคยถามท่านเรื่องอาหารการกินตอนที่มาอยู่เมืองไทยอยู่ยังไงท่านก็บอกท่านฉันอาหารอีสานได้เราพอไปอยู่ที่เพิร์ธอาหารอีสานก็ฉันไม่ได้มันเผ็ดอยู่นุ่มจริงอาหารฝรั่งลิ้นจะไปทางนู้นตอนมาเมืองไทยท่านก็ฉันฝรั่งฉันอีสานได้แต่ตอนหลังท่านก็ฉันไม่ได้เผ็ดเคยเตรียมไว้ท่านเลยต้องเตรียม2 อย่างพิซซ่าด้วยอะไรเพิ่มกันอายังธรรมกัตถาสาทายสุมันเตสังฆเคตัพพารัง
I remember early days when I listened to his talks, I used to get lots of piti sukha. I was also always in tears and lots of happiness. It's always inspired me. Without him, I don't think it's possible. We have Dhammasara, we have so many Bhikkhunis. Sometimes some people can talk really well. They may not really walking the talk, but he's someone who really can talk the walk and he can walk the talk.
When Ajahn Brahm and the Bhikkhu Sangha from Australia gave ordination to the women in the year 2009, it was something that I was very moved. I was very moved that actually my brother, my Bhikkhu brothers still understand the text, still read the text in the spirit that the Buddha wanted it to be, So it's really a big message for me. I never mentioned that to him, but it did a great deal for someone who is fighting alone at that time.
Okay.
Sorry to shed tears, but just to tell you how important of his movement and for the Sangha movement, Theravada Sangha movement.
I would never have been able to come to the situation in which I am now if I had been a woman. I would not have so easily become a monk. It would not have been so easy for me to find places. I would not have gotten all the support. And this is just really unfair. And in the case of discrimination, those of us who are beneficiaries of that system, without having feelings of guilt, but we have to take responsibility. And we have to take that step forward to addressing such discrimination. And I'm very glad that Ajahn Brahm and also Bhikkhu Bodhi is very outspoken on this, and also Bandagunaratana, that there are some really important and eminent monks who take a very clear position on
that. Venerable Brahma, once I worship him, because he is the one person who took a very, very strong step against the later developed the tradition. They are all traditional monks, they are not keeping to the Buddha.
unfortunately, the cultural aspects of a country sometimes take over the original tenets of a religion. And that's what happened with Buddhism. But Ajahn Brahm saw beyond that, and he ordained bhikkhunis following the teachings of the Buddha, the original teachings of the Buddha.
The Buddha said that, you need the bhikkhus, the bhikkhunis, the laymen and laywomen to be established in the Dhamma. And he even went so far as to say he wouldn't enter parinibbana until that fourfold assembly was strong. And, they were practicing the true teachings. They were able to teach others. They were able to preserve the words of the Buddha.
I think if Asian Theravada Buddhism is going to move into the 21st century, they have to outgrow these constricting, confining ideas inherited from basically a medieval way of thinking.
Pertama dari buku. Kemudian ketika di Bodhinyana ada Upasampada, 4 bhikkhuni Ajahn Wayama, ya saya di situ bertemu dengan Ajahn Brahm. Dan kemudian ya kami juga berterima kasih kepada Ajahn Brahm yang memiliki keberanian untuk peduli terhadap salah satu pilar yang memang harus keberadaannya dibangkitkan kembali, dan Ajahn Brahm dengan para siswanya mempunyai keberanian untuk itu.
I'm glad that we didn't withdraw. We just go ahead with the ordination because it's quite stressed, Then someone keep telling you that you're doing something that is really, like, for example, like it's causing a schism, sometimes it really make you feel bad, isn't it? That you terrible, you causing so much trouble, problem, to the sangha, things like that. I'm only keeping more precepts. I haven't done anything harming anyone else.
I'd heard of his stand in favor of women, or of women becoming nuns and so on, and how shockingly he was treated in Thailand. And I do think that is one of the most important topics one can possibly discuss in talking about modern Buddhism.
Ajahn Brahm loves the Dhamma. Ajahn Brahm is a good monk. He is a monk par excellence. He is well-mannered, responsible, and self-sacrificing. You don't have to be under the authority of Wat Nong Pa Phung or anybody. You are still disciple of Ajahn Chah. You are still disciples of the Buddha. So you are in Perth, Ajahn Brahm. You have to be your own persons. Be happy, be courageous, be number one.
The advantage is that Ajahn Brahm can do things his own way. He doesn't have to report so much or be questioned so much, to keep so closely to some of the etiquette and cultural norms that are quite important within that family, that are not necessarily fundamental to the monastic training, actually. It's Thai etiquette or Thai cultural things. So he can be free of that restraint and allows him to shape his style and his presentation his teachings, the monasteries that he looks after, the monks that he trains. It gives him greater freedom to shape the monastic tradition that he's the legacy, if you wish.
Sometimes it shows you when you are ready for certain things, and things connect together naturally because you are ready to see it that way. So marvelous, yeah. Okay.
Ajahn Brahm, I've got a question.
Yeah, please.
If you do a fairly regular meditation practice, but you have
Western Buddhism is really explaining Buddhism in the way it ought to be explained. It's not about ancestor worship, it's not about praying to the Buddha. It's about understanding the Four Noble Truths. It's about right understanding. And that's what Ajahn Brahm is brilliant for. And he's providing a unique style of teaching.
And the biggest loser in the whole world was the Buddha himself. He was the biggest loser. He lost everything. So my advice to you is please get lost. That's what we're doing. We're losing everything, losing our attachments, losing all our ideas of just attainments. We're losing things, disappearing, vanishing. That's the path.
I think when people see him, if they just meet him and see him, and it's also, jokes and fun, I think it makes it sound, it somehow detracts maybe from the seriousness of his practice.
His teaching has always been focused on getting people to nibbana, and in that sense it's very, very kind of narrow, but he manages to do it in a way that reaches a lot of people. One of the kind of underappreciated skills is that ability to reach a huge amount of people and to inspire a huge amount of people with Dhamma teachings that are very simple and very accessible, but that also will lead to those very profound insights and breakthroughs and states of meditation. And a lot of the times is that people will take these very high teachings like jhanas or nibbana and so on, and they'll water them down and dumb them down so that they can ostensibly reach them out to a greater audience. Ajahn Brahm never does that. And what he does is show that there are real and meaningful teachings that are easy and simple and accessible that everybody can apply right here and now. And if you develop those, you can aspire to and even realize these great and powerful and deep and profound things.
The way that he's been able to get the Dhamma out into the mainstream en masse through the talks that are recorded on YouTube, on the BSWA YouTube channel, he's bringing the Dhamma to a really wide audience, people who maybe have never even shown an interest in Buddhism or meditation before. So his talks, are relevant. They're about daily life. He talks about dealing with difficult people, dealing with emotions, how to overcome resentment. These kind of things speak to everybody.
How to live an ethically upright life in the world, how to apply Buddhist ethics to the different dilemmas and challenges we face, how to use Buddhist contemplative and meditative practices to make our minds more adaptable and functional in our daily interactions with other people and in facing difficult situations within the world. Yeah, I think Ajahn Brahm has done a very good job of presenting the teachings in that way.
Ajahn is actually contributing to the entire, to the Buddhist community internationally, because he has his monks factory here, and the monks factory is already completely full and with a long waiting list. And the people who are undergoing training here comes from different countries. It's an international group of people. Many places in the Buddhist country, we could hardly get more people who want to become monks. But down here, you've got a long waiting list. And we think that these will help to contribute later on when the monks have undergone the training. They will actually bring up the entire community.
He has a manufacturing plant for monks. They're all lining up. Till I came to know Ajahn Brahm when I had just ordained as a monk. I was listening to Dharma talks at Bhavana Society, starting with Bhikkhu Bodhi. But Bhikkhu Bodhi's talks were very deep and very profound and very scholarly. So after listening all talks of Bhikkhu Bodhi, I Googled and found out Ajahn Brahm talk. And I found out it had a very good sense of humor.
He's one of the earlier Western monks to really balance study and practice. Instituted that as the approach, and that these are not mutually exclusive, which was, especially in the Thai tradition, this was, kind of one of the big divides. Practice monks don't study, study monks don't practice.
Thai methods are mostly follow the cultural things, so they respect to their king. In the same way, the monks respect to the chief monk or the abbot. So once you come here, no such relationship between the junior monks and senior monks. So it is difficult to build up. It takes time to build up. So that's why it is good to send monk to Thailand and get a training and come back. So now can't send like that. So then they get that attitude, how to deal with the chief monk. But here now they can't get that. So he has to deal with monks in a much more skillful way. So that's why I think Ajahn Brahm is really skillful in dealing, because in the democratic way, or that is how this Lord Buddha taught us. So how to deal with people and how to Vinaya do Vinaya and practice Vinaya. Yeah, it is exactly following the Lord Buddha's way.
Itu poin yang saya lihat yang sangat berarti. Dan kemudian lagi dengan cara Ajahn Brahm membabarkan Dhamma, bukan hanya umat Buddha yang dapat manfaat dari apa yang Ajahn Brahm babarkan, juga yang non-Buddhis juga sangat banyak mendapat manfaat, karena memang tujuan dari Dhamma adalah untuk kebaikan, kesejahteraan, keselamatan, dan kebahagiaan semua makhluk. Jadi tujuan dari pembabaran Dhamma bisa dicapai.
He provides this beautiful, beautiful place, one of a kind in the world, to give people such a nice place to practice. I've been to different places to practice. You can't beat that, So I appreciate Ajahn's insight or foresight to provide this. And everywhere he has the teaching tour, he has the meditation retreat. To me, it's the experiencing it, the Dharma again, not just listening it. So experiencing, practicing, learning, that is the only way to me to accumulate the wisdom, your own wisdom.
그런데 아잔 브람의 가르침에서 do nothing의 한마디에 10일 만에 니미타의 진짜 체험을 하게 된다. 파옥의 니미타는 완전히 달랐다. 그러면서 모든 경전의 가르침을 이해하게 됐다. 그 이후로 한국에서 아잔 브람을 모시면서 한국 불교의 정통 초기 불교를 알리고 있는 중이다. 30년간의 테라와다 불교, 30년간의 미얀마식 불교가 아잔 브람의 가르침에 의해서 일거에 바뀌었다. 한국인의 초기 불교를 하는 사람은 거의 다 보디니아나의 아잔 브람을 다 알고 있다. 아잔 브람과 보디니아나의 성가 대중께 큰 은혜를 입었다.
2 years ago when we drew up a program for him in Malaysia, he wrote back, he says, "Victor, I'm no longer young. I'm an old monk." So now we really have to be, careful because sometimes we do not realize that the people that are with us are actually getting older, and as teachers get older, we need to take care of them better.
In the 6 years I know him, he has been working very hard, and I do wish him to have more self-care. That's my wish. And to really, really absorb, receive everyone's love and respect, appreciation, gratitude.
This Ajahn Brahm, that Ajahn Brahm. I don't know him at all. He's a figment of my imagination. He is he's a mirage. He is a delusion. He is like a magician's trick at the crossroads.
What is your favorite story with Ajahn Brahm?
The favourite story with Ajahn Brahm is when he was having an interview and he got fed up, so he decided to walk out. Bye-bye.